Yo, what is up YouTube? And today we have another tier list for Etheria Restart, and this time around we're going to be focusing on every single character, but for PvE content. Now keep in mind that this is going to encompass all of PvE. You're going to see some characters here that may be very strong in one threshold or like one shell area. Is going to be in like the niche tier because this is going to pretty much be for PvE as a whole. Now as you can see, there's 5 tiers. We have the OP tier. This will include all of the meta top tier units. The strong tier, these characters will also be very good, but just not as universally strong as the OP characters. And we have the placeholders tier, which is going to be for characters that you can slot in when you don't have or are missing some key characters in your roster. The niche tier, these characters can be very powerful, but they're only going to be used in very specific team comps or areas of content. And the no tier, pretty self-explanatory. You most likely will not want to bring these characters for PvE, but some of them may be very good for PvP. Now let's start off with the OP tier. So this tier is going to have pretty much the top meta characters in the game for PvE content, and to no shock, it's going to start off with Lily. So Lily is still going to be one of the best PvE characters in the game. She enables so many cheesy strategies. For example, she enables dot comp, she enables Vice, infinite looping taunt strategy in some bosses if you twin trick him with your S2, and just in general, she is mostly offensive firepower, but it's super powerful, right? She has her twin trick dual attacks from her S1, her follow-up attacks, which is super powerful. It makes your DPS do a lot more damage. It also makes it so that your DPS can be built on 0 speed and still be able to cycle very quickly. Extremely powerful, still used everywhere. You can pretty much bring her into every team comp and it'll work. You might have to build around it a little bit, like you don't want to bring Lily with Fuqiu for the most part, but you know, in general, she is just extremely powerful, and you can just build team comps with her and she will always be good. Next up we have Fuqiu. So I have her at number 2. This might be a surprise. Maybe you guys don't think that she's as powerful as I do, which is respectable, but after testing her out everywhere, I can say that she's used in every Inferno threshold. You can use her in pretty much every Inferno shell content, and she's like almost top tier in them, besides probably like Shadow Flame Hoyan. And she is also just good in just hard bosses. The reason why she's so good is because even though she makes your fights longer, because she doesn't really provide anything offensively, defensively she is insane on the right build. You can put her on Wellspring to give her a lot of health. It makes her S3 shields do a lot more. You can put her on Time Weave to cycle her S3 faster. And you can put her on like Fortissimo or Supernova depending on how you want to play her in terms of healing. Do you want more burst healing or more sustain healing? And she is amazing at not letting your team die. Even in bosses that are red like Aurora, Fuqiu is still top tier there because that's how broken her skill kit is. And you just build her in a certain way so she doesn't die to the boss. So this character, even though she just came out, I tested her extensively, and I think like especially if you don't have Lily on your account, this character is invaluable because she provides that speed buff to your team that Lily usually provides, and she is pretty much what Lily is, but on the defensive end, which is going to be very good in hard, challenging stages where you're struggling to survive. Definitely a top tier character. I think she is one of the best in the game for PvE. Next we have Kloss. So Kloss is going to be the best debuffer in the game for PvE, bar none. Defense down, speed down, and she has this really broken hacking progress. Hacking progress is super powerful because this basically makes it so that the enemies do less damage to you and then you do more damage to the enemies. So I'm going to say that she is going to be pretty much the best character in the game that is available for debuffing and for defense down because she's just so strong. Next we have Yeli. This is going to be the best DPS. She is neutral. She's a white character, so she doesn't have any affinity weakness. And she is really self-sustainable, right? She has a built-in crit buff. She can dispel herself with her S3. She has a defense down. She can buff steal, and she does crazy damage on Revelation Shell. For that reason, she has to be in the OP tier. And the best part about her, honestly, is you can build her on literally any matrix combination, and she will do fine. Kenai is going to be her worst matrix, but even then if you have it on her, she still does a ton of damage. So definitely a top tier unit. She's used in so many areas of content and just very powerful. Next we have Cachi. Cachi the guard is going to be very strong in debuff heavy content, and honestly even if there's not a lot of debuffs, his defense buff is very strong. You can use him in pretty much every Inferno threshold. I've seen teams with him in every Inferno threshold and also every Inferno shell. It's for that reason, you know, the fact that he's usable in all this while being an SR character just has to put him in the OP tier. Also, just a solid pick in a lot of just Union bosses, Phantom Theater, Ember Trek, Anasync Echoes. If you're looking for a good defensive option and you don't know who to bring, Cachi the Guard is never bad. That's why he's so good. You can literally slot him into any team and he's always good. The only thing is, for early game players, it's going to be harder to build him because you need his S3 maxed and you need him at 182% effect accuracy. So he's not really an early game character, he's more going to be a late game, mid game character, but once you get there, this guy is a beast. Vice. So Vice, honestly, super broken. He's an R character, a lot of people don't use him. I think people are catching on now. And the reason is because he has a lot of healing with his S2. If you max it out, you can heal an ally as well. He also dispels. And he has a taunt. And taunt in this game is inherently super broken. If you spam taunt on a boss, they won't cast their ultimate. So, or most bosses, I'd say like 90% of the bosses, right? Some of them will cast their ultimate still, but most bosses won't. So in Ember Trek, in Anasync Echoes, in Ethernet Rally, he is the GOAT. For the last boss of Ethernet Rally, Lindell, she like kind of one-shots her team, but if you have Vice and you lock her down, you just win. So super broken, not balanced. I wouldn't be surprised if they do something with taunt in the off season when they do balance adjustments, because it just cheeses so much PvE content, whether it like be changing how taunt works or making some bosses immune to it. But it's just a broken design and it makes a lot of bosses super easy, and you don't really need to put a lot of thought into bosses right now because you can just cheese it. Next we have Diting. So Diting's like a little bit worse version of Yeli. Same benefits, right? He's elemental neutral. The only difference is that he does no AoE, so it makes him worse. And also his damage is just going to be lower. And he doesn't have defense down, which is going to be pretty bad. The good side about him though is he is dark as opposed to light. So if you actually are doing like Renko Kutsu, so like if you're running, you know, the Fuqiu DokiDoki comp like I am, you can swap in Diting and then you won't take extra damage with the affinity stacking. It's not really a big benefit. I was kind of just pulling at straws there, but you know, he's okay. He is a lot of burst damage, no RNG. It's very, very stable in terms of how much damage he does. And honestly, he does outshine Yeli in some like one-shot comps, right? So I think for the most part, Yeli's gonna be better than him. But Diting is a really, really good free-to-play option, the best free-to-play option DPS. And there's gonna be some areas of content where he will outshine Yeli. Now, next up on the list, we have Xiada. So Xiada, very good DPS. The only bad thing is she's blue, so she gets countered by like Terramaton and like Sharon and stuff like that. But outside of green bosses, she is a monster. The reason why is because the way her skill kit works is that you just stack buffs on her and it resets the cooldown of her S3. And the reason why this is so good is because buffs, usually characters that give you buffs, just make your team a lot more tankier. So basically you're playing a full tank down comp with Xiada, and Xiada just keeps AoEing with her S3, and her S3 also has a defense down. So basically you are just solely protecting Xiada while doing a ton of damage and having a ton of buffs so she'll never die. It's because of that reason, you know, her team comps are very stable, very, very high win rate, and very easy to build because you don't need effect accuracy. You just need literally just HP percent, flat HP, defense percent, defense, flat defense. It doesn't matter on like all your other characters, and for the most part, and you literally just put it on damage, on revelation, and you just go to work. And even if your runs take longer, for early game players, she is one of the best DPSs, if not the best, because her team comps are the easiest to build for just clearing content and farming content safely. For that reason, I have to put her in the OP tier. Next we have Lingluo, best healer in the game. She's free to play, you get her on day 7. Not much to be said. She has immunity, she has buff extension, which works with so many characters. She can extend, you know, defense buff and immunity buff from Cachi, they work well together. She can extend speed buffs from Lily and also Xiada. She can extend the barrier duration from Valerian and the attack buff. The list goes on and on, that's why she's so good. Buff extension is broken in this game. Shadow Sania, just a very powerful unit. Definitely not as important as before because bosses got nerfed and, you know, more units released and more team comps got figured out, but she's still OP, and let me explain why. So, you know, her biggest thing is that, to me, she can cheese Terramaton Inferno very early into your account. She can cheese Nico Nana, she can cheese Shadow Flame Hoyan as well. So basically 2 shells and 1 threshold, which isn't the best compared to other characters here, but also on top of that, she cheeses so many stages in Anasync Echoes, in Ember Trek, and Ethernet Rally. And even though they're not like farming stages, they're rotating game modes, or not rotating, refreshing monthly like areas of content that you get a ton of rewards from. And having Shadow Sania in those areas of content makes your life so much easier. You literally just bring her with like any opener. It can be Lily, it can be like Kazuyo the Reverie, Obel, another dot character, and Fangus, and you're just perma-CCing with Obel on Codex, and you're just spamming dots with Sania on Codex as well. Cheeses a lot of stages. If you look at the hard stages in Hard Ember Trek, you'll see a lot of Shadow Sania. Not the boss stages, but like the mini boss stages, which are very annoying as well. You'll see a lot of Shadow Sania there. Next, we have the strong tier. These characters are still very good. We're not going to talk about them as much in depth, but I'll still, note where they're strong and what they're good at. So starting off, we have Viper. I was debating whether to put him in OP. One of the best debuffers and dispellers. He has attack and speed down, makes him very, very good in Aurora and Rangokutsu and Nico Nana and a lot of areas of content. Valerian, very, very good at stopping one-shots, good in Terramaton. You can pretty much actually bring her everywhere, to be honest. But I don't think she's OP. I think she is just a strong character because you're not always going to be benefiting from the entirety of your kit. The only area of content where you do that really is going to be Rangokutsu and Terramaton, where you're proccing her cheat death. But she's still amazing, don't get me wrong. Definitely a top tier support, one of the best in the game still. But yeah, just not as good in longer fights. Massiah is going to be one of the best DPS. I think people might want to put him in OP, but I think now with Yeli's release, he has to go down. He used to be the best jack of all trade DPSs. Good in everything, master at none, but now Yeli's like good at everything and master at everything, so has to drop down. The only area of content I like to use him is Anasync Echoes now because he has invincibility, because he's like, so you won't die. And even DokiDoki, he's very good for not the one-shot team, but the two-shot team with double DPS. Rosa, very solid Aurora DPS, very solid Nico Nana. Outside of that, you're not going to really use her too much. She's mostly Union Boss and Phantom Theater. Xiada kind of just outshines her, but Rosa does have a benefit where she is better in Aurora, but it's still a very solid DPS in general, and I probably will eventually build mine. Red Mia. So Red Mia is very strong. Honestly, I want to put her in OP now, like up here. I think I will. And the reason is not because of her alone. Her alone, she's very good. She reduces shell and skill cooldowns, but paired with Fuqiu, she is amazing because she reduces her S3 cooldown. If you don't have DokiDoki to match with her, she is going to be extremely, extremely, extremely good. And the reason is because if you speed tune her to go after your Fuqiu, then she will reduce your Fuqiu's S3 cooldown by 1, and then you just have to wait 1 turn to get it back instead of 2. Makes her very strong. Good in Aurora, good in Terramaton, good in Sharon, good in a lot of areas of content. She's just a very good support. I wouldn't call her a healer, a good support that reduces your entire team's cooldowns and shell cooldowns, which is insane. Fangus, very strong cheesing character. You pretty much use him as a main DPS, sole DPS when you are under geared. Works in Shadow Flame Hoyan, works in Terramaton, works in Nico Nana, but later on he then becomes kind of like an accessory to the dot comp, not the main DPS, which is why I have to put him in strong. Tsukiyo Mi, very good Lily replacement. She is extremely good. Basically, she boosts your team, she does what Lily does, but not as good in like longer fights. But in Aurora, I think she's better than Lily, to be honest. And just in general content, you can bring her, and she's very good. I think she's very underrated, super strong in PvE. Just Lily kind of outshined her, but still, on comparable levels. Freya, super strong character as well. So she has Nightmare debuff, which makes your team heal off the boss when they do damage. So it's very good in Union Boss. And she's very good because she has a lot of CR pushing, turn meter pushing. So she has a passive on her S1 that makes people get pushed up when they get buffed, and enemies get pushed down when they get debuffed. And this is very, very powerful in PvP especially, but in PvE it's also very good. And she has this amazing Purify and defense buff on her S2, which makes her extremely good. Sania, so Green Sania is also going to be super powerful. I know I keep saying super strong, super powerful, but for real, like she's actually very good because in areas of content where you are like playing long fights, for example, Anasync Echoes, her S3 is super strong, super strong again. It's very powerful because basically it gives you max HP, it makes you unable to die, and you will be able to tank down and kill the boss. She's a part of the Rangokutsu Inferno Cheese team with Bruisers, where you can just revive and just stack a lot of max HP so you don't die. And she's just good she's also good in Terramaton if you want to bring her there, and also DokiDoki, and also Sharon. Inferno Sharon even. So I think she's very underrated, very good, and yeah, just a great character overall, great cleanser, and also has use in PvP, even though we're not taking that into account. Next we have Holden. So Holden's one of the best dispellers in the game. He's going to be good for Terror, he's going to be good for Aurora. Also, just as a solo DPS, in kind of like the same comp as Sania, he's extremely good. Rengokutsu can be used. Sharon, he can be not really used, but he's okay, I guess, for like the lower stages, except Inferno. And just a good character. I think he's definitely strong with his AoE Dispel, which is very, very invaluable in this game, and also his attack down and resistance down. And he is going to be the best Terramaton, opener in the game. Kazuyo the Reverie, I'm going to say that she's very good for DokiDoki, like probably the best character for DokiDoki. She's the one character you cannot replace, and that's gonna be pretty much it, except like Shadow Flame Hoyan, she's also very good. I have a free-to-play auto team with Kazuyo the Reverie, but otherwise she's pretty strong, but not used as much as you think. You're gonna use her to CC stuff, and you need her to be very fast. So if you're ever finding yourself need to CC like a lot of ads, she's very good. The only thing is, if you're CCing, you have to make sure you speed tune your team, because she has a sleep, right? Not a stun. So Obel like has like an AoE stun, but Kazuyo has a sleep, so damage will wake up the sleep. So that's why she's only in the strong tier, but she's still very good. Red Chiaki, very good healer, underrated. I was thinking about putting her in placeholder for Mia, but no, I think she's actually extremely good by herself. In Aurora and in Terramaton, she's amazing. In Sharon, she's amazing. You can use her in Nico Nana, she's amazing. Just basically anywhere that's not blue, she's great. She has decent healing, she has very high burst healing in her S3, and her Origami Guardian really makes it so that you can never really die, which makes her a very, very strong healing pick. DokiDoki, god tier with Fuqiu, otherwise just strong. She pushes your team up a lot, she gives you stacking attack and speed buff, and she reduces your skill cooldowns. Good unit, but I think her value drops without something that abuses cooldown reduction like Fuqiu and even Valerian. But still very good. Outside of the Fuqiu comp though, I think that Lily and even maybe Tsukiyo Mi will be better. Next we have Khloros. So Khloros is very strong as a red DPS. There's not a lot of good red DPSs in the game. That's why he is strong by default. And he is also very good in a lot of one-shot comps for Sharon, for Aurora, for Terramaton, and I think you can also use him in Rengokutsu. I've seen one person use him. So I wanted to put him in niche because he's used in one shot, but he's also good in Phantom Theater, Union Boss, single target fights, and just as a main DPS, he's not even that bad, to be honest, so I have him in the strong tier. Dinah, one of the best defense downers in the game, good in Aurora, good in DokiDoki and Terramaton, for one-shot teams, yes, even DokiDoki, but outside of one-shot teams, you're not going to really use her as much as other characters, just because of the fact that she has zero defensive utility, like debuffs in her kit, and for the most part, her, like I said, like her skill kit is mostly strict offensive. Chiaki the Echo, very good Lily replacement. She also has cleansing, which is very nice, and I think she's pretty solid as a character. I think she's very underrated. If you don't have Lily, she's a very good option to max because she has a lot of AoE turn cycling. She's very good in DokiDoki. She's also very good in Terramaton. She's also very good in Sharon, and also very good in Shadow Flame Hoyan if you want to bring her there. So I think just in general, good Lily replacement, just a solid character. Viktor, I have him in strong because this guy is kind of similar to Sania and Holden. You bring him in these tank down bruiser comps and you will eventually clear it. His damage isn't the highest, especially after the nerfs, but still solid as a bruiser tank down DPS in your slow 100% comps. Now we're going into placeholders. I'll just talk quickly about what characters you're using them for until you get them. But they're still solid, don't get me wrong, very good characters. So Sybil is going to be basically if you don't have Rosa or Xiada, or I guess even Diting and Yeli for Aurora. Outside of that, I wouldn't really use her. Red Kazuyo is pretty much the substitute for Lily for not everything, but a lot of areas of content, or even DokiDoki. So you can replace, DokiDoki with her in the Fuqiu comp, or Lily with her in regular comps, because she has that cooldown reduction on her S3 and a speed buff and a speed down. But in general, you can't bring her everywhere, right? She can be used in Terramaton, she can be used in Aurora, she can be used in Sharon, she can be used in Nico Nana, she's very good as well. I think you can bring her in Rengokutsu as well, I'm not too sure about that. So I guess you can bring her in a lot of areas of content. probably outside of that in like Ember Check as well, and like Anistic Echoes. But the only problem with her, and the reason why she is just a placeholder, is she has no utility outside of the speed manipulation, and also I guess the cooldown reduction on her skills. So she doesn't have any like shielding or like cleansing like, you know, DokiDoki does, but she's still a solid option. She doesn't have any healing and, you know, stuff like that like Mia does, but still a solid option. She also has a Dispel, which makes it pretty good, but yeah, just a replacement. Next we have Mizuki. Mizuki, sorry. She's very, very good as well. Only area of content I use her in is Teramaton, but she's a placeholder there. Teramaton is very hard to do, especially on Inferno for new players. But if you're looking to cheese it, I have a free-to-play team on my account, which you just use all SRs for, basically. And she is on that team. You just have her go first to dispel immunity, and you just Fangus cheese it. So for that reason, if you're missing like Holden to do your dot comp, if you're missing Heinrich, right, you can use her, and she actually works. She's actually pretty good as well, because she has a defense buff, which will make your team a lot more tankier. Rin, so Rin is a beast in PvP, but in PvE, she is gonna be kind of the same as Sybil. You pretty much only use her in PvE if you don't have Xiada or Rosa for Aurora, or if you're missing like every single DPS for DokiDoki. But she's still solid in PvE, but not the best option, which is why she's here. Lian, just a placeholder for any single DPS you get. She falls off hard in the late game. I don't recommend her. Helkid, similar to Lian, he's just a placeholder if you pull him early or sustaining until you get something else. He does have immunity, which is great, but the immunity only lasts for your shield duration, so it's not as great. So it just makes Cachi the Guard just a lot better. Gray, placeholder until you get Kloss. Defense down, does okay damage early game, but he falls off as well, similar to Lian. Now we have the niche characters. I'll just talk very quickly where you'll use them. Rilmoka, DokiDoki one-shot. Beyontin, pretty much any one-shot team. Yang, also pretty much any one-shot team. What I mean by that is Aurora, DokiDoki, and Shells. Obol is going to be used for dot comp and also for Shadow Flame Hoyan and also Nico Nana. And in the dot comp, like in those cheesy stages for Ember Check, Mio is going to be used for DokiDoki one-shot. Heinrich is going to be used for Aurora one-shot, Teramaton one-shot, and some Shell one-shots. Dorothy the Witcher and regular Cachi are going to be used for other one-shot teams, just pretty much every single one. Tiamat and Rahu in the Bruiser comps for Aurora and DokiDoki, respectively, and even for Rengokutsu you can use them. Marvel is going to be used as a turn meter pusher for one-shot comps, especially for DokiDoki. Kraken and Lilith are CC characters. You're going to use them in DokiDoki as CC, or just hard multiple character stages like Ember Trek and Anistic Echoes. Celine is going to be used for Shadow Flame Hoyan to disable the passive of the ads counterattacking you. And Asu is going to be another dot character, which is pretty underrated but still used. And then the no tier, these characters I don't think are really going to be that great. The only character you could probably move up, or like the two characters, is like RC77. You can use him in one shot for DokiDoki. And I guess Nahor, you can use him as a Kloss replacement as one shot for DokiDoki. But outside of that, I think this list is going to be pretty much finalized. But you can see, you know, a lot of characters in this game can be used in a lot of areas of content, which is great. But yeah, thank you for watching, guys. If you guys have any changes to make to the tier list, let me know in the comments down below so I can take it into account for next video. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.